Lucky enough to be hopping in an updated 2023 fantasy football draft here, and we are going to be picking at 2. In my mind, 2 is honestly probably going to be the best spot to be selecting in a 2023 fantasy football draft because we still get Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. We're still able to find incredible running back value at the 2-3 turn. I just realized we actually accidentally went live on the Dynasty channel. We'll keep it as is. We'll have this on the Dynasty channel. We have not done one of these in quite some time for y'all. So let me go ahead and let me pull up this draft board. And of course, as always, real quick, if you want access to not only my 2023 fantasy football rankings, but also my 2023 Dynasty fantasy football rankings, if you want to get your team broken down in a podcast by yours truly, if you want access to the rankings and articles of all your favorite Dynasty creators, it's all in one place for you. It's super easy on flockfantasy.com. You can find the link in the description. You can find the link in the comment section. Sign up with promo code FLOCK. And with the Mother Flocker tier, like I said, yours truly will go ahead and make a podcast breaking down your Dynasty fantasy football team, and you'll get 30% off any subscription. But that should be about it. And we are actually lucky enough where we are going to be able to come away with Justin Jefferson at pick 2, something that very rarely happens. Like we said, we are planning on wide receiver regardless. If you go pull up my rankings, you'll see that we have Jefferson, then Chase, 1, 2, not really thinking about it at all. But as I pull up this live chat, we have Noah says new background looks badass. Thank you so much, my friend. This is a temporary background, definitely. I haven't decided what we are going to be doing with the new studio just yet. So we had this set up already. I figured maybe we could use this for about a month as we try to come up with a badass setup. So this will be what we're rocking with for the time being. Eventually, we'll be moving over, and maybe this can be a secondary studio for us, but I am happy about the temporary setup, definitely. But we have Kelsey at 3, CMC 4, Tyreek Hill at 5. So, I mean, if we're going to be looking at best player available, usually Kupp hasn't been making it a pick 6. He was at the very beginning of the offseason in these drafts, but you've seen him trending up, which honestly, he should probably be going much higher than, in my mind, where he's about to go, pick 7. I think that I would honestly take Cooper Kupp probably at 3. At least if you're looking at my best ball rankings, we have Jefferson, Chase, then Kupp, just given the fact that you're easily able to find running back value that we like later on, and wide receiver is going to dry up very quickly. Oh my gosh. Did something happen that I don't know of? I mean, obviously we have news guys like Elijah Moore getting traded. I'm really excited to see where Elijah Moore goes in this draft, but did something happen with Kupp to make him fall to 8 here? Was there a piece of news that I missed out on? Is there something that we need to be covering? Because what the hell just happened? Like I said, I personally have Cooper Kupp ranked at 3, but I don't know. Maybe something happened. CeeDee Lamb goes 10, Saquon Barkley 11. Now, I want to remind everyone, yes, I understand that we accidentally put this on the Dynasty channel. This is going to be a 2023 best ball underdog draft. So this is just for 2023. In my mind, it's still a great tool and great practice to help us in Dynasty fantasy football to understand, of course, the long-term situation for these players, but also expectations for the 2023 season. Best ball, so no time commitment at all on Underdog last year. I drafted over 700 teams, won a couple high-stakes drafts, profited $150,000, which I am very happy with. We'll be getting 1 million of these drafts going through the course of the entire offseason because, like you said, no time commitment outside of the actual draft itself. If you want to sign up for an Underdog draft, you can find the link in the description, find in the comment section. When you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog, they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100, and you'll get our Dynasty rankings to go along with it. But Rental Turtle says, is Kelsey still a first-round pick, in your opinion? I hate to continue to talk about this because it seems like we talk about Kelsey over and over and over again in these drafts. In my mind, 3 is way too high. If you go through and you pull up my rankings on flockfantasy.com, you'll see that in 2023 drafts, I actually have Travis Kelsey as a late first-round pick. We were drafting the hell out of Travis Kelsey last year. I was drafting a ton of Travis Kelsey in 2021 as well, but now he is older. Now Travis Kelsey is going to be 34 this upcoming season. So honestly, I'm a little bit less excited about Kelsey this year than I was last year, than I was the year before. But at the same time, his price is significantly higher. So I have not drafted Travis Kelce in a single one of these. If he starts falling to the late first, if he starts falling to 9, 10, 11, 12, then yeah, I'll start drafting him. Very similar to Austin Eckler. I mean, Eckler opened up these drafts going at pick like 5, and we had Eckler ranked as that late first, early second round pick. So I hadn't drafted any Austin Eckler, but now he's actually falling to that range. So I find myself taking him in a few drafts because I think they're pick 14. He's actually good value compared to where you saw him going earlier on, where he used to be a selection that would go off the board in the middle of the first. But Kenneth Walker, Devonta Smith go off the board 2021. So we have a couple elite level quarterbacks making it on the way back around. But in reality, like we've discussed, I mean, I really have not been drafting these elite level QBs at all. Patrick Mahomes was one of my most drafted players last year, but you were getting him in round 5. Round 2 is a little aggressive here. Patrick Mahomes goes 22. I'm honestly going to lock in a wide receiver, and I'm going to assume that we are going to be coming around with a running back in round 3. We're going to go T. Higgins to pair alongside Justin Jefferson, given this format. Going to be excited to see where Mr. Massar goes. He goes DK Metcalf 24. Then he has his choice of pretty much any running back in this tier, or he can go through and he can take Jalen Hurts. Full transparency, I think if Hurts were to fall to us 302, maybe we end up having to go with them. But my initial plan A is going to be taking Breece Hall or Derrick Henry, whoever falls to us at pick 26. But let's see what he does after going Chase 1, Metcalf at pick 24, but he took Jamar Chase at 1. So it seems like he's willing to go out and do his own thing, and that's exactly what he does. He goes with Nick Chubb 25. So I'm going to go ahead. I will take Jalen Hurts here. In my mind, this is a more reasonable price point than where he was going right when these draft contests opened up on Underdog. Previously, he was going at the beginning of the second round, which I thought was very rich. But if we're able to get one of these true elite level quarterbacks in Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or Jalen Hurts in the 3rd round, at that point, I'll go ahead and pull the trigger. I mean, you have to remember that if we were going to be looking at these QBs, in my mind, 3rd round is a reasonable price point to pay. That's where we had Josh Allen going last year when he was in his own tier. And Jalen Hurts, I mean, coming off a pretty much quarterback 1 overall season, if we're going to be looking at a points per game basis when he was fully healthy, is a team that, I mean, really doesn't get worse. They may go out there and add in like Bijan Robinson in the NFL draft. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Jalen Hurts. JCM says, is David Bell in the garbage now that Elijah Moore is there? Yeah, I mean, I actually liked David Bell as like a super cheap throw-in in Dynasty Fantasy Football. I thought that he had an intriguing profile coming out of Purdue if we're looking at the production profile he had. But now that you have Elijah Moore going over to Cleveland, Elijah Moore is just essentially a much, much better version of David Bell, especially with them telling us what they thought of David Bell by making that trade 100%. I previously this offseason thought David Bell was an intriguing throw into a deal, and now that's not the case at all. Now it's always going to be Elijah Moore in that slot. Okay. Anthony says, why are you doing this on your Dynasty channel? Because I accidentally made a mistake, my friend. I mean, I think we are allowed to make a mistake every once in a while. We'll do this on the main channel tomorrow. Definitely. Okay. So Amari Cooper goes pick 35. I am very intrigued with what we can do through the rest of this draft. I mean, if you're going to be looking at what our options will be at the 4-5 turn, really, we aren't going to have the ability to go with a running back here. Unless we want to go ahead, unless we want to reach on like Dalvin Cook, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aaron Jones. But in reality, we probably want to be going and taking a couple of these wide receivers with our next 2 picks, which is why usually my plan when we're drafting at the very top here on Underdog is to go wide receiver round 1, whether that's Chase, Jefferson, a Kupp, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, and then round 2, 3, usually grab at least one running back there, because I really do like the running back tier of guys like Breece Hall, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. I think that they're all very comparable. I mean, you can throw Kenneth Walker in there. Sometimes you're getting Kenneth Walker at the 2-3 turn as well. But I usually like grabbing one of those running backs with that turn, just because later on it's going to be awkward to try to take a running back at the 4-5 turn, unless maybe we get Najee Harris falling to us. And if Najee Harris were to fall, I mean, I would be excited about that. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. Anthony says, do a Dynasty draft, start a mock on the main channel tomorrow to throw everyone off. Maybe, my friend. We'll get that going on this channel probably Monday. Yeah, we'll get a live startup going on Monday for everybody. Okay, Joe Burrow goes 41. I have noticed that Burrow's been falling in these drafts like a lot of these other quarterbacks. I mean, like we said, at the beginning of the offseason, Jalen Hurts was almost exclusively going pick 13, 14, 15 in these underdog drafts. You had like A.J. Brown as that late first, and then the team that took A.J. Brown would always grab Jalen Hurts on the way back around in the second. You're kind of seeing the same thing with Joe Burrow fall down these boards, where Joe Burrow, I mean, at the beginning of the offseason was going at the beginning of the third round. I think this is probably the first time I've drafted one of these elite level quarterbacks just because we had him falling significantly behind ADP. I think his ADP now is pick 20 or something along those lines in terms of Jalen Hurts. Okay. Now, real quick, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. I understand that we are on the Dynasty channel. This is not a Dynasty draft, but come on. We're still having a ton of fun here. Jerry Jeudy going 43. I'm going to be in a little bit of pain if Lamar Jackson ends up falling to us. I mean, I personally really like the price point of Lamar Jackson in the 4 or 5 turn. I think that it's a lot more reasonable than what we're seeing with some of the other quarterback prices. Obviously, we are going to be put in a very difficult position if we were to go through and try to draft the Lamar Jackson on a team where we already have Jalen Hurts. So it's not necessarily something that we're wanting to do. Miles out here, thank you for coming, my friend. JCM Freak says, I think Deshaun Stell's top 3 upside. Strides have to be made, though. I mean, definitely. If you're looking at what we had, okay, did something happen with Ramondre Stevenson? Ramondre falling 13 picks past ADP. We need a running back. I think this will probably be the first time I've drafted him all offseason, but also this is the first time I've seen him fall this far. I really hope that something didn't happen today that I haven't seen yet. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Ramondre Stevenson. In my mind, probably the clear value on the board. We really need a running back. At times, he was used as prime Alvin Kamara this past year. So, yeah, Ramondre Stevenson, 47. I mean, I love this price point. In third round, yeah, I'll probably pass on Ramondre. I mean, at the 4 or 5 turn, though, where there's really no other running back we can even consider, hell yeah, sign me up for him. I mean, I felt like we've had some very strong values in this draft. Michael Pittman going 48. I may really mix it up here. We may try to go wild. We may go with the unique build that I don't think too many people are going to have. Okay, what's happening here? Mr. Messer will go out of his way. He will make, I don't want to say wild picks, but he will do that. He will take Dameon Pierce, pick 49, when he has an ADP of 68. I don't like it from a roster construction standpoint where we already invest in a Jalen Hurts in the 3rd round. If I'm looking at Lamar Jackson, though, I think 5th round Lamar Jackson is one of the best values we're going to find in this draft. Of course, we would never do this if this was not a best ball league. But what I really like to see is that Patrick Mahomes team goes through and takes Trevor Lawrence to pair up with Calvin Ridley right after we take Lamar Jackson. So maybe if we have a couple of these teams like ourselves going Jalen Hurts, Lamar in the 3rd and 5th round, we have this team going Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence in the 2nd and 5th round, then hopefully that ends up having other quarterbacks slide up the draft board ever so slightly here. I mean, I don't love taking another quarterback when we've already invested in a Jalen Hurts. And to be honest with you, if I knew we were getting Lamar Jackson pick 50, I'd possibly pass on Jalen Hurts in favor of one of the running backs in the 3rd round. But in terms of coming away with a unique build, this is a $10 buy-in on Underdog, $1 million prize pool, $100,000 to first. I mean, this is a tournament draft where we are trying to come up with a unique build with the highest ceiling possible. I do think that this is a team that has a unique build and an incredibly high ceiling. So I actually don't mind it too much, if I'm going to be honest with you. Now, Jameson Williams going off the board here, pick 54. Jackson Smith and Jigba, pick 53. Anthony says Jahan Dotson or Quentin Johnston in Dynasty. I'll say real quick, my friend, the easiest way for you to see all our Dynasty rankings may or may not be on flockfantasy.com, promo code FLOCK. May be easy for you. And also there's, a 2-day free trial. When you go over there and create an account, you don't even have to put any credit card info or anything in to get that 2-day free trial and pull up all my rankings. But if you don't want to do that, if you're a little too lazy, I do have Quentin Johnston ahead of Jahan Dotson, or at least I believe so. Now, Chris Godwin, Jahmyr Gibbs, George Kittle. Kittle falls a decent bit in this draft. Pick 55 here. Lockett going 58. I mean, this is where Lockett's gone for pretty much the past 3 years, right? Just as a 5-6 turn. Keenan Allen going pick 59. I mean, it looks like Keenan Allen will be with the Los Angeles Chargers this next season. Anthony says, yeah, there's no info on Ramondre Stevenson, so it looks like we're not missing anything. I mean, so it's a little. Little scary. Now, Justin Herbert going pick 60. Obviously, we need as many quarterbacks off the board as possible. I mean, I really like that Justin Herbert value. If I'm going to be honest with you, I would probably still rather have Justin Herbert over Trevor Lawrence. Like, let me go ahead. Let me just pull up vlogfantasy.com and show you my rankings. So let's go ahead. Let's pull up 2023 best ball rankings. And I can let you know where everybody has these guys as well. Okay. So going over to best ball, let's go to QBs. Yeah, okay. So the average ranking for Justin Herbert on vlogfantasy.com is going to be 47. The average ranking for Trevor Lawrence is going to be 55. If we're going to sort by my rankings in particular, I have Justin Herbert at 47 and I have Lawrence at 60. Yeah, and I have Lamar Jackson way higher than where he's going right now. I have Lamar Jackson at pick 33. So, I mean, I actually really like the Lamar Jackson value we had. Bending Cinema says, would you give DeAndre Swift and the 202 for Jonathan Taylor? It depends. If I was playing in a league where Detroit Lions running backs got an additional 5 points per carry, then at that point, I would be a little bit hesitant to trade DeAndre Swift in the 202 for Jonathan Taylor. But unless I'm playing in that league in particular, of course, my friend, you're trading DeAndre Swift and the 202 for Jonathan Taylor. What the hell are we talking about here? Okay, now Dalvin Cook going off the board 66. We may have the ability to take DeAndre Swift on the way back around here. I think that we can make a couple different plays. I think we could possibly go running back and wide receiver. Obviously, the only thing we can't do is take Deshaun Watson. But, I mean, we can go a couple different directions with this. Evans goes 68. Okay. Come on. There are two names that I'm really wanting to fall to us. I don't know if we're going to get them, but a man can dream. This team is really in line. They've been taking a lot of values. They go Treylon Burks. I would have liked to have Treylon Burks at the 6-7 turn. I think our team, while we have Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, we could definitely use another wide receiver. Deontay Johnson off the board. I mean, I'm not a big Kadarius Toney fan. I'm going to go ahead. I'm actually going to take DeAndre Swift. I know we were making fun of someone saying DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Taylor, or DeAndre Swift the 202 or Jonathan Taylor. Clearly, you're taking JT there. DeAndre Swift has some serious red flags. It's a coaching staff that hasn't shown that they want to use him as that 3-down player. At the same time, with DeAndre Swift, they bring in David Montgomery, who is in theory going to be playing the same exact role that we had from Jamal Williams this past season. But big 71, I mean, I'm fine with the price point. Knowing what I will like on the board on the way back around, we're going to want to go ahead and take a running back on the way back around. So here, I think we need to lock in a wide receiver. I definitely would prefer Jahan Dotson over Gabe Davis. I mean, in my mind, I actually really like the Jahan Dotson value. I understand quarterback situation. We don't really know exactly what we're going to be rolling with in Washington. And in my mind, it can only get better than what we had last year, or it can't get worse than what we had last season. With Jahan Dotson, he was a good prospect coming out of Penn State. With Jahan Dotson at the same time, he had a very good rookie season. So I'm going to be happy to go ahead and take him here, 74. Like we said earlier in the live stream, in a dynasty format for the long term, I probably prefer Quentin Johnston over Jahan Dotson. But just specifically for 2023, give me the second-year wide receiver. Okay. Jerry says, how much value would you put in the Trey Lance Purdy stack in Dynasty? In my mind, I think if you're going to go through and roster one of those guys, you almost just want to be making a bet. This is what I talk about a lot in regards of handcuffing running backs, or in this case, handcuffing your quarterback. In your fantasy football league, right? There are 12 teams on average. Most people are playing in 12-team leagues. So if we are playing in a 12-team league and only one team wins, our expected win rate is about 8.5%. If that's the case, we shouldn't be trying to raise our floor. We shouldn't be going out there and trying to handcuff our quarterback, have both Trey Lance and Brock Purdy to make sure that we have a starter. In my mind, we need to be making bets that could really help us profit, and there's no reason to hedge because in my mind, if I'm not first, I'm fine being last. Okay, I would rather have half my leagues in first place and then the other half I'm in 12th, I'm in dead last, than have 100% of my teams finishing 3rd through 6th. So I like trying to have great teams and really bad teams. I don't like having a lot of middle of the road teams, so I don't really like going through and handcuffing running backs or handcuffing quarterbacks in this case. You'll raise your floor, but it's not what I'm focused in on from a fantasy football perspective. I'm trying to raise my ceiling. Okay, Jordan Addison going 83. My mind, this is an appropriate value for Jordan Addison. I mean, I thought it was once you had the NFL Combine, you had to be taking Quentin Johnston over him. But if we're going to be looking at Addison at the 7-8 turn, going directly after guys like Gabe Davis, Jahan Dotson, Quentin Johnston, I think it's a fine price point for Jordan Addison if you want to go through and draft him there. Zach says, handcuff other running backs, not your own. 100%. I mean, this is an example that I've used all the time. I mean, it's easy to always go to Alexander Mattison, right? I love Alexander Mattison. When Dalvin Cook misses, Alexander Madison's a top 5 running back in fantasy. But do I want to go through and do I want to roster Alexander Mattison on the same team where I have Dalvin Cook? No, if I drafted Dalvin Cook over the past few seasons in the first round, if Dalvin Cook doesn't work out, if Dalvin Cook gets injured, I probably lose anyway. My team's probably garbage. Does having Alexander Mattison help us too much? But no, if you instead, say, drafted last year Justin Jefferson in the first round, and then you go through and you roster Alexander Mattison and Dalvin Cook goes down, then at that point, you win the league. You have a top 5 running back added to a core of phenomenal players. So, yeah, I agree. I don't mind going after backup running backs that have an incredibly high ceiling. In my mind, what's bad is going after your specific backup running backs and trying to make sure you're hedging bets. Like, we're not operating regional banks here. We don't need to be hedging bets. We just need to be going through and trying to have the highest ceiling possible. If all goes wrong, who cares? We lose a fantasy football league. I'm fine losing a fantasy football league. I've lost plenty in my time. Trey Lance going 93. I mean, we already have Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, so we're hoping as many of these quarterbacks go off the board as possible. This team is going 0 RB. They have yet to take a running back here. They go Zay Flowers 94. I think we're probably going to go ahead and we're probably going to reach on a wide receiver. He's the thumbnail of this live stream. I think that he finds himself in a phenomenal situation in Cleveland. So yeah, I'll take Elijah Moore over Michael Thomas. I'll take him over Juju. I'll take him over Darnell Mooney. I'll take him over KJ Osborne. I'm very comfortable with a lot of these running backs that we could get on the way back around at pick 98. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Elijah Moore here. We can't draft the quarterback, obviously, but let me know if you think that's a little too aggressive with Moore. So Daniel Jones goes 96. Hopefully this team takes Dak Prescott as well. I've been drafting a lot of James Cook in this range, but I feel like with the addition of Damian Harris, you're going to see James Cook continue to fall with ADP. So I'm not going to be jumping up and down to take him here at the beginning of the 9th. Okay, Daniel Jones. Okay, Michael Thomas off the board. Honestly, probably a pretty good thing that we took Elijah Moore. I don't know if he would have made it back around. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Rachaad White. I mean, in my mind, a lot of these running backs are in the same tier. I just want some exposure to all of them. And like we said, now with the addition of Damian Harris, I think you are going to get James Cook at a value in different drafts where we're not having to take him at pick 98, even though I've drafted a lot of James Cook in this range already. Mike making fun of us for labeling this as an expert draft. My friend, I think when you are the only person to win multiple high-stakes drafts and profit $150,000 last year, and you did it on live streams, I think if you had the best results out of anybody, and please show me your results if you think you did better, then I think we're allowed to go ahead. I think we're allowed to call this an expert draft. Okay. If us having better results than anybody last year is not being an expert, show me what is. Show me what is, my friend. Now, Tunji says, I woke up today. The sun is up. I'm alive. You know what that means, Mason. some real money draft, and happy to see you out here, my friend. Thank you, of course. And yeah, I hope you're having a phenomenal weekend. Now we have Njoku going 102. I'm fine with David Njoku in this range. There's another tight end that I wouldn't mind coming back around to us to pick 119. KJ Osborne, Juju Smith-Schuster. Can y'all please spam the chat? We have 130 people out here. What I would love for you to let me know, would you rather have Juju Smith-Schuster in New England or Elijah Moore in Cleveland? Because if I did not take Elijah Moore there, and if I was going to go with another wide receiver, the wide receiver I would have taken would have been Juju Smith-Schuster. So can you please let me know who you're going with between Elijah Moore and Juju? I would love to know your opinion on that one. Okay. Peanut Butter and Waivers says he would rather go ahead and he would rather take Elijah Moore. Anthony says Elijah Moore as well. Okay, y'all making me feel good about this. Hayes says Moore. Will says gross. I mean, I don't know. Are you that excited to take KJ Osborne, my friend? Or are you going to go take Osborne? Okay, Frymuth goes 106. I actually really like taking Pat Frymuth in the 10th if you would have made it back to us. But obviously, it doesn't always happen. I mean, hoping that Pat Frymuth makes it a 119 is a stretch in a lot of drafts. Dak Prescott fell an incredible amount here. I mean, I'm not the biggest Dak fan in the world, but getting him at pick 105 is a pretty good situation. Okay, Derek says Moore. Miles says Elijah Moore as well. So it looks like the majority of people are saying Elijah Moore. Okay, it makes me feel good. Definitely makes me feel good. I don't know if you are lying to me here, but regardless if you're lying or not, thank you. Okay, so A.J. Dillon, James Cook both go off the board. And this is what I was saying. So you see James Cook falls to the 10th round in this draft, which in my mind, I actually really like the value. I don't necessarily think Damian Harris takes too much away from what you were going to get from James Cook anyway. James Cook, you're never drafting him to go out there and carry the ball 20 plus times a game. James Cook, you're drafting for the receiving down skill set. So I don't really think Damian Harris has too much of an impact, but I think it does allow us to get a lot of James Cook in the 10th round. I really like that James Conner selection as well. But let me go ahead and let me show off this entire draft board for anybody who's just now coming in here. So at the very top, we get really lucky. We get Justin Jefferson falling to us at pick 2. We go Higgins, Jalen Hurts, Ramondre Stevenson. And yeah, we take Lamar Jackson. I mean, I don't necessarily love going QB both round 3, round 5, but I feel like it allows us to have a unique build. And at the same time, it allows us to have access to an elite ceiling each and every week at the quarterback position. If anybody else in this league has more QB points than us this next year, I'll probably lose my mind. But yeah, I think we're in an interesting spot. We definitely can't take another quarterback the rest of the draft. That's for damn sure. Okay. So let's swing this back around. Jared Goff goes good. I would love for this team to take like Russell Wilson. I don't think they can take another quarterback the rest of the draft. They have Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence. They went round 2 and round 5 for their quarterback investment. But they wanted to. I'm not gonna shy away from it. I would love to see that happening. Okay. Just realized, so, I mean, we are just loaded up with only passing down running backs, pretty much Ramondre, DeAndre Swift, and Rachaad White. So we have Donovan Peoples-Jones making it to us. We already have one Cleveland wide receiver with Elijah Moore, so we are getting some correlation with this selection. In my mind, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones play almost two entirely different positions. They're almost two, I mean, completely different players, which obviously they are. So I don't necessarily think that one takes too much away from the other, especially say if Amari Cooper were to go down this next year or Cleveland turns back to having an elite passing offense with Deshaun Watson, then at that point, I think both of these picks can hit. So I like taking both Elijah Moore and Donovan Peoples-Jones at the price point that we got him with. Okay. Let's see what this next team does. Goes Jalen Hyatt 120. Not going to fault them at all for going Jalen Hyatt there. Okay. We still don't have a tight end. I mean, Dalton Schultz gets a decent contract. There are not too many players that can compete with him there. Yeah, we may end up having to go tight end, not going to lie to you. The thing is, how many touchdowns can you realistically score in Houston? Zay Jones goes, I think we kind of have to go tight end just looking at how the teardrop's going to be. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Dalton Schultz. I I can't lie to you. I'm not too excited about it. I mean, this is a tight end that, yeah, like we said, not a lot of target competition. Probably will get, a high target share there for the Houston Texans. But because you're in such a bad offense, at the end of the day, you're not going to have access to a lot of touchdowns. So it's an interesting spot to be in. I mean, the thing is, we're taking him right in between Zay Jones and Sky Moore. So while I don't want to sit here and jump up and down with excitement saying we just robbed everyone in this draft and we just got the best value ever, I think it's a fair price point. Okay, Allen Lazard, 125. I didn't really draft Allen Lazard. Maybe, I don't know if I drafted him in a single draft last year, to be honest, but if we were to reevaluate the situation this next season, presumably you have Aaron Rodgers as a Jet. If that's the case, and you're getting Allen Lazard like 4 or 5 rounds after where he was going last year, even if I don't think Allen Lazard's particularly a talented player, I mean, the price point's completely different where I may actually be willing to go in on Allen Lazard here in particular. I mean, it's not the worst spot. Now you have Odell Beckham Jr., Tyler Boyd going off the board, 128, 129. Avon says James Cook going before James Conner's insane, bro. Harris going to be on the field with first downs. I mean, the thing is, obviously, with James Conner, he's going to be in a much worse offense, but I'm not going to disagree with you strongly here. Like, let me go ahead and let me pull up my exposures with these running backs. I can almost guarantee you that James Conner is one of my most drafted running backs on Underdog this year. Obviously, Dynasty, different scenario, drafted in 2017, very old, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, if you're looking at this next season, he has the guaranteed contract. My most drafted running backs in order are Elijah Mitchell, Alvin Kamara, James Conner, David Montgomery. Yeah, so I have James Conner as a top 3 most drafted running back for me this offseason on Underdog. I mean, 10th, 9th round, I'm all about it. You're having a running back that's a 3-down player that has the guaranteed contract this next season. So, yeah, I mean, I think that you're in a pretty good situation. Okay, Damian Harris, 134. So Damian Harris was going way later than this on Underdog before the Buffalo signing. So clearly people are extremely excited about what you have in Buffalo now. I know a lot of people said that Damian Harris is going to be a Jamal Williams from last year in Detroit. And in my mind, I'm not all about it. I mean, you're looking at Damian Harris as a player that, yes, has scored touchdowns in the past, but even if you're in an elite level offense with Josh Allen, we know Josh Allen will be vulturing a decent amount of rushing touchdowns. Not only will Josh Allen be vulturing a lot of rushing touchdowns, but the difference between an additional to Josh Allen vulturing touchdowns, another major difference that we have between Jamal Williams last year and Damian Harris this next season is Jamal Williams maybe isn't the best passing down running back in the world. Maybe he's not a great pass catcher, but he can do it. He will do it. Damian Harris can't, and he won't. So I'm not saying this is a bad price point with Damian Harris. Obviously, you're getting him in the same round as Alec Pierce, Romeo Doubs, Joshua Palmer. I think it's just fine. But what I'd be a little bit worried about is all of a sudden Damian Harris sliding up to the James Conner, A.J. Dillon, Zach Charbonnet. If he gets into that range, then at that point, I'm going to be completely out on Damian Harris. Okay. Kevin says, is Alexander Mattison the starter next year? What does your crystal ball say? I would say most likely not. I love Alexander Mattison, the player. I think it actually was a great situation for him to go back to Minnesota because, I mean, if anything happens to the starter there, we've already seen that coaching staff's willing to utilize him as a 3-down player. But I mean, if we're going to be projecting out, I think it's a tough thing to guarantee that, I mean, or even say it's likely Alexander Madison's the starting running back going into next season. Okay, so Ezekiel Elliott goes 141. What's going on here? So we need another wide receiver, and Josh Downs makes it to us. I'm pulling up Twitter right now just to make sure nothing's going on with Josh Downs that I don't know of. I feel like we're getting some very strong values in this draft. I'm just a little worried that we're out of the loop with news. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not seeing anything as of late. Yeah, I think that we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Josh Downs here. I mean, on the way back around, you have a lot of running backs that you can be looking at. I think Kyler Murray is a phenomenal value, but I mean, we have Jalen Hurts, we have Lamar Jackson. There's a 0% chance we can be taking Kyler Murray here. If I knew we would have Kyler Murray available to us at the 12-13 turn, I definitely would not have selected Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts. I mean, I would have taken one of them, not the other. Obviously, Kyler Murray going to miss a decent chunk of this next season, but he should be back for the fantasy football playoff tournament, which is what really matters here. Should have a decently high ceiling for that time period as well. So I really like the Kyler Murray value. Even if we aren't able to take advantage of it, we can instead go ahead and we can take Elijah Mitchell, who, like I said, is already one of my most drafted running backs this season. But I really like this situation Elijah Mitchell finds himself in that it looks like they're not going to use Christian McCaffrey as a true 3-down bell cow running back where he's going to get every single touch out of this backfield. I think that they're more inclined to use CMC in a pseudo running back by committee and instead try to keep him healthy. But if CMC were to go down, then at that point, Elijah Mitchell's a running back that averaged 100 total yards a game as a rookie. So I think occasionally we'll get some random touchdowns from a best ball perspective with Elijah Mitchell that will be valuable. But at the same time, he does have that handcuffed running back appeal on if there would be an injury with Christian McCaffrey. He's in an elite offense that wants to run the ball consistently. I really like Elijah Mitchell 146. I'm really happy with what we came away with that turn there, 12-13. I actually like the Antonio Gibson value as well. I mean, if you're going to be looking at the situation you have in Washington, of course, Gibson's been nothing but disappointing since he's gotten to the NFL, at least from where my expectations were with him. But I mean, the running back room's thinning out a little bit. This is a running back that was a wide receiver in college. So maybe, just maybe, we can tell ourselves, oh, okay, well, he just needed some time to develop. We can try to tell ourselves that story. Now, of course, we're stretching it. We are doing everything we can to try to convince ourselves of him being a thing. But with no J.D. McKissic there, I'm a little bit more comfortable taking Gibson at 12-13 turn. Yvonne says, is a good Downs comparison Jahan Dotson? I don't think so at all. I mean, the thing with Josh Downs is he's definitely not a guarantee at the next level. I mean, this is a player that does look like an outlier on if he were to succeed. Now, keep in mind, this is a wide receiver that had a phenomenal, and I repeat, a phenomenal sophomore season. He had almost 40% of his teams. I mean, he had over 40% of his team's receiving yards on a per game basis, but he weighs 171 pounds. So there are some very clear red flags with Josh Downs, but at the same time, we are taking him right after Hunter Renfrow, Adam Thielen, Romeo Doubs, Alec Pierce. It's a chance that he's a second-round pick in this year's NFL draft. So I don't think Jahan Dotson's a fair comp. I think Jahan Dotson was a better prospect. I think Jahan Dotson's a better player. But, of course, we're getting Josh Downs significantly later. Isaiah Hodgins goes 158. Shaheed goes 155. Miles says Gibson's great value right now. I'm starting to think so. I mean, I don't know if let me pull up my exposures on Underdog again to see how much Gibson I have, but I mean, I only have 9% Antonio Gibson. So it looks like I've only taken him once or twice, but I think if he continues to fall to like the 12-13 turn, I will probably be coming away with more and more Antonio Gibson, if I'll be honest with you. Now, Sean Tucker, 161. We're really hoping some of these quarterbacks go off the board. We're really hoping someone takes C.J. Stroud. Someone possibly takes Matthew Stafford. I mean, we can't do it with Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, of course, even if we think that he's a great value. We have to ignore it. Okay, what can we do here? So our 2 QBs, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. 4 running backs, Ramondre Stevenson, DeAndre Swift, Rachaad White, Elijah Mitchell. Our wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, Jahan Dotson, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Josh Downs, and then we have Dalton Schultz at tight end. So we have the best quarterbacks in the league, and outside of that, we need help everywhere. Come on, give him to us. Give him to us. We get Gallup. Now, I understand, yes, we have Brandon Cooks coming over, and yes, we need to push down Michael Gallup because of that, but he will be in an offense that most likely throws the ball a decent amount. He's a wide receiver that I believe is a very talented option, and I drafted Gallup too much in fantasy drafts last year, but I could see a scenario where the reason it went wrong with Michael Gallup is he just wasn't fully recovered from the torn ACL like we've seen so many times from other players. And maybe another season is just what he needs to get right. Pick 167, even with Brandon Cooks coming over to Dallas. I really like it. Okay. Now, let's think what we'll have on the way back around. We'll go Mike Gesicki in New England. We have Ramondre Stevenson. We already have another piece of this New England Patriots offense. We definitely need 3 tight ends with this team. I mean, we waited until, I believe, the 11th round before taking Dalton Schultz as our first guy. I'm not the biggest Mike Gesicki fan in the world, but I mean, this was the tight end that came out of school and was an incredible athlete out of Penn State. Like, if you're looking at athleticism scores, very few players were a better raw athlete than Mike Gesicki. He definitely needs to put it together. We don't know if he can do it, but let me pull up the contract that he got. Okay. Okay, it's not a great contract. Okay, it's a horrible contract. $3.5 million guaranteed. Who's the other tight end that was sitting there for us? Higbee, right? Can y'all please let me know in the live chat, what would you have done? I think we honestly needed to go tight end there, but would you have preferred Tyler Higbee or Mike Gesicki? Please let me know. I had no freaking idea. Should we have gone Tyler Higbee or Mike Gesicki? Stroud finally off the board, 173. Phenomenal value with CJ Stroud. We couldn't take advantage, of course, given the fact that we blow our load early on quarterback. We have Jimmy G, 175. Stafford, 178. The pound says Henry over Gesicki. Interesting. Will says Gesicki. I mean, Higbee had a ridiculous amount of targets last year. The man's 30. Doesn't score touchdowns. But, I mean, if we were to take Tyler Higbee in the 15th round and he repeats what he did last year, I mean, I would be ecstatic. I'd be over the moon excited about that. But Claypool goes pick 180. Let's swing this back around. Kenny Pickett falling. Kenny Pickett, ADP 167. About to be on the clock, 181. Devin Singletary goes to Houston. And in my mind, I mean, we tweeted this out. I think Singletary going to Houston is almost a good thing for Dameon Pierce in that they needed to add a running back 2 there regardless. Like, you're not going into the season with Dameon Pierce as your running back 1 and literally nobody else on the roster. You need another running back on the roster. Devin Singletary, in my mind, is a clear backup. I don't think he can compete with Dameon Pierce for the starting job, but it may allow the Houston Texans to feel like they don't have to bring in a real running back in the NFL draft. So I think Singletary's addition to the Houston Texans is almost a good indicator if you were wanting to go through and if you were wanting to draft Dameon Pierce. I mean, I think it's a fine selection of Singletary here, 183. Mike says he would rather have Tyler Higbee over Mike Gesicki. I'm not going to lie with you. I figured Gesicki had a better contract than $3.5 million guaranteed. I think that you're probably right. I think from now on, we probably need to be going through and taking Tyler Higbee instead. Okay, Paris Campbell goes 185. Come on. Someone take Kenny Pickett. You know you want to. There we go. Kenny Pickett. Now we just need Mac Jones to go. Mac Jones, last starting quarterback. You sure you don't want Mac Jones? I can't interest you in some Mac Jones. Come on here, D-Hop. D-Pop. I understand you have 3 QBs. I understand it probably makes no sense for you to go Mac Jones, but you know you want to anyway. Come on. Okay, Bigsby goes 187. I was considering Bigsby with our next selection. Hayden Hurst, 189. Okay, so how many rounds do we have left? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 5 more rounds. This may be our last wide receiver we take. We're going to go with John Mechie as our 8th wide receiver here. So our wide receiver core is going to be Jefferson, Higgins, Dotson, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Josh Downs, Michael Gallup, John Mechie. We still need another tight end. We need a couple more depth running backs. We have Chase Brown going off the board there, 192. The only running back that we're guaranteed not to have on the way back around for us will be Cordell Patterson. So we'll go ahead and we'll take Cordell Patterson, 194. Let me show off this entire draft board. I think this is a very interesting team. I can't tell if I like it or not. So QB, we have Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. Running back, Ramondre Stevenson, DeAndre Swift, Rashad White, Elijah Mitchell, Cordell Patterson. Tight end, we're trash. We have Dalton Schultz, Gesicki. Wide receiver, Jefferson, Higgins, Dotson, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Josh Downs, Michael Gallup, John Mechie. So what this team would really need is we need Deshaun Watson to go back to being an elite level quarterback. If that were to happen and we get hits with both Elijah Moore as well as Donovan Peoples-Jones, I'd feel very comfortable about this team, especially if we had Josh Downs actually doing something year one. Now, of course, that's not guaranteed. We have no idea if Josh Downs will be anything. But if somehow, some way, he actually does turn into something, then I think we could be in a very comfortable position. But real quick, if you have not done so already, you better go down there and drop a like on this live stream. If we hit 100 likes on this stream, we will go ahead and we will hop into another draft after this one. If we hit 100 likes on the stream. Okay. Now we have Noah Fant 200, Conklin 198. Keishon Boutte 201. I mean, Keishon Boutte has just fallen so damn much due to a combine. Let me pull up where he currently is on NFL mock draft database in terms of mock draft projections. Okay, so yeah, he's plummeted here as well. He's now behind Tillman, Nathaniel Dell, Rashee Rice, Tyler Scott. He's neck and neck with Marvin Mims. The Pound says, Dearness Johnson in the 20th is an interesting and half PPR on the Jags as ETN's handcuff. Makes sense for this team. I definitely do not mind that at all, my friend. Tannehill goes 203. Come on. I wonder what else we can do. Deontay Hardy going 204. Player that I would never consider taking. So, of course, he'll probably be this year's breakout. Get us. I don't even know. I think we just want a tight end falling. But in reality, a lot of these tight ends are the same for me. Okay, Will Levis 221 is the most insulting thing I've ever seen. I will say I actively hate our team that we took both Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson because I want to be able to draft Will Levis in the 18th, 19th round in legitimately every single draft. I mean, I have no freaking idea if Will Levis will be a good real-life quarterback. What I do know is he will be most likely a top 10 NFL draft pick, and he has some rushing upside. To get that player after Hardy, A-Rob, Baker, Ferguson, what are we doing? Oh, dear God. Desmond Ridder. Will Levis has an ADP behind Jerome Ford. Yeah, I hate, God, why did we take the elite quarterbacks? Why did we do that? Dalton Kincaid going to 12. Brock Purdy 213. So it would have been nice having Dalton Kincaid making it to us at 215. I know it's a tight end not testing, blah, 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 but still. Jared McKinnon goes, this team behind us is most likely going to go running back as they have Nick Chubb, Dameon Pierce, Devin Achane, and Chase Brown. So we're going to take a swing. We're just going to see if Zach Evans can turn into anything. I mean, Evans never really got a fair opportunity in college. He's probably bad, but there's a tiny chance he goes day 2 of the NFL draft. If he goes day 2 of the NFL draft, we're getting him here pick 215, a running back that can do a little bit of everything. I'm very comfortable with that selection. And we're going to have to go ahead. We're going to have to take tight end on the way back around. The question is, who are we going to be drafting? She rise. We'll go ahead. We'll take, actually, Jelani Woods may be a better tight end than Darnell Washington, but there were a lot of these drafts where Darnell Washington wasn't even selected at the very beginning of these contests when it first opened up. So inherently, he's going to be a player at lower ownership. I mean, very comparable option. So I'll be fine going ahead taking him here at 218. And let me show out this entire draft board. Of course, this was Underdog Fantasy. If you want to hop in a draft today, $10 buy-in, $1 million prize pool, find the link in the comment section. Find it in the description. Sign up with promo code FLOCK, and you'll get your first deposit match dollar for dollar up to $100, and you'll get some 2023 Dynasty Fantasy Football rankings. But I think that should be about it. We have one more round, but I kind of want to hide who we're going to be taking there. Looks like there is almost no shot we are getting this to 100 likes in the stream. But thank you again, everybody, for coming out. I truly do appreciate you. Really hope that you have a great day and really hope that we get to see you with the live stream tomorrow.